Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. I'm Gianni, today's host. I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Yep. Not a great game week so far, but luckily there's 5 players with a second chance to prove themselves and try and help me through. About 4 points above average, I think, as it's weighing out at the moment. But even in my mini league, I've sunk a little bit this week. But yeah, as I say, I've got those players in the bag that I really need to have good games. How did your week fare? I haven't actually looked.
My week wasn't great, mate. I can't get captaincy right. On all the 50-50 calls, I'm just terrible at it. So far, I'm on Tony captaincy. I hope that comes in for me. But, you know, Matoma, McAllister was a killer. Solly March has been dodged. Loads of people have owned Solly March. I'm going to go on a rant here for a week or two, and they're already complaining. Oh, Solly March isn't getting me points that he deserves. Try owning him for 7 weeks. Literally, I've had one attacking return from Solly March, and I'm adamant that he's a good FPL pick, and I have to keep him. And what I should have done is on Wildcard, got rid of Solly March and gone to McAllister, but I was reluctant to do that because I was like, as soon as I sell him, he'll start scoring points. You know, we all do that. So yeah, Solly March owners, don't worry too much. You've got another 5 weeks of pain.
Could have got a goal, mate. He could have scored a goal.
He did get a goal.
He did get a goal.
Yeah. Did he? I don't know. If he didn't get a goal, though, I think he should get the assist. He definitely got something.
He got something on it. Yeah, I was actually listening to. I was in the gym and listening to the commentary of the game. Obviously, there's a blackout here anyway on 3 o'clock on a Saturday. One of the few things the BBC did do at the weekend was commentary of
I was listening on the radio as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I was listening, and it really sounded like it was a Matoma assist and a March goal. It really sounded like that from the commentary. I was like, brilliant. So even when it wasn't showing up on my app, I was like, no. I heard what he said. He said he doesn't think it's an own goal. He said, well, actually, he said it could be going an own goal, but it looked like Solly March got there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I could be in the points here. Got nothing from that goal. That was really annoying. But yeah, someone just asked if I captained Kane. I didn't.
13 points. Although you did go Matoma and he could outscore Kane.
This is the thing. So I captained Matoma. He's got 12 at the moment as a captain. So if he delivers, then it might be all right here. And Crystal Palace aren't very good, are they? So there is some reason to believe here. Massive game, Brighton against Crystal Palace normally anyway. But the chance to really, really stick Palace in some trouble. This is Matoma's game. I'm still hopeful that this can pay off. But yeah, again, like both of us made to pay by McAllister, really. That was a bit of a frustration. The biggest frustration, mate, João Felix gets subbed at half time and Conor Gallagher comes on.
He must have been injured. He's not flagged. He's not flagged on the site. Yeah, but he took it. Yeah, but I think they're protecting him. He must be injured. He was playing well.
I think it's because he gave the ball away for the goal.
Possibly. Is Potter the type? I don't know.
It sounded like it. He said, I wanted another man in the middle. It was a tactical decision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, João Felix is not getting subbed for Conor Gallagher. No way. Yeah. So this punt that I've had thinking João Felix goes in and stays in, then Havertz obviously scores too. And yeah,
Havertz is an interesting one. We'll talk more about him later with our planned moves because I think Chelsea are a team to target right now. Have you seen who's in the chat, Dean? We have got our world number one. And look, Ali says in the chat, world number one. He's actually world number 2 now.
Yeah,
but seeing as we're mid-game week, I don't really care for mid-game week ranks.
Well, his team looks better,
matters when it's over.
I think his team looks better. I was looking at it briefly last night, and I think from what I remember, it looked like he was still in a good position to get top spot, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. He's got Matoma captain as well. He says the Felix sub was tactical. Yeah, because Potter's pretty much said this, guys. What I'm saying, however, is don't always believe what managers tell you. And if you go back, I'm sure I saw a clip doing the rounds. Felix took a really, really heavy challenge, a bit like the Casemiro one. I can't remember who it was, and I think it went unpunished. And I was like, the way he's been playing, the link up with Havertz, I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a knock there. But
yeah, we'll see. My plan was to stick with him. Hopefully, I can still do that. Ali says Felix is scoring a brace against Everton. This is the thing. I can't go flaky on João Felix.
Yeah, you committed now.
I've kind of committed now. That third forward spot isn't an easy one anyway. So yeah, it's annoying that Ollie Watkins scored again.
Oh, is he 6 in? I think he's 6 and 7, and I think
literally since the day Danny Ings left that football club, he has not stopped scoring goals, has he?
Main man. Tony's in the chat. Woohoo! Made a live stream. Love that, Tony. Thank you for joining us. Eddie's with us, and Let's Talk there. Lewis and Chat Sport and Tech. Ollie Watkins, Dean. Loads are buying him this week. Loads of us are going to be selling Haaland. It seems weird, but I think we're going to be doing it. Myself and Dean both looking like we will. And loads of you in the chat will be. No doubt we'll all own him by game week 30 again, right? Yeah. Like, he's got 2 game weeks with 1 game, and it's Liverpool versus a Watkins or a Havertz who have 3 fixtures. I think Haaland drops in price and Watkins goes up in price either tonight or certainly by tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So would we be making moves to beat a 0.2 difference, if you're buying Watkins, that is, before Wednesday night fixtures, knowing Tony or McAllister or Matoma or Estupinan or Raya, they could get sent off, they could get injured. For me, forget about the prices. Wait till Wednesday night's fixtures are done and then make your transfers, as always, towards the end of the week. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to hold out anyway, as I usually do. I try not to worry. I don't think this is a case to stress too much over that anyway, because of what Haaland's worth in comparison to most other forwards that you're going to bring in. You'll be able to make it up anyway when you need to get him back in. Watkins, yeah, look, what do I think of Ollie Watkins generally? I don't think that he's the greatest centre forward in the Premier League we're ever going to see, but he's pretty functional in this team, and he's there and thereabouts with the big chances of landing. So it probably is time to have faith in him, especially against Bournemouth, because you really don't know how Bournemouth are going to play. Like, I know that they're showing signs of life down there, but Villa really need an upturn to make sure that they end the season well too, because they want to try attracting players in the summer that can help them to get towards their goal of playing European football for the next 2 years.
Yeah,
under Unai Emery, and a home match against Bournemouth is one that they really need to go for. I don't really see any other Aston Villa players that I would be looking for. I mean, watching that game, don't really fancy anyone from an FPL point of view. So Watkins is probably the obvious choice, isn't he?
I think he is. We might have one other Villa player to tempt you later in our bonus beasts section. Seen in the chat, Haley has commented on Ali's post, or vice versa, and I came up with Haley. Haley says, Haaland and Estupinan to Havertz and Chilwell, ? Haley, they are 2 moves that I am also considering myself. The Haaland to Havertz move, I think, is one I'm going to make. But the Estupinan to Chilwell move's a really interesting one. Because if you sell Estupinan this week, you get 11 out, right? But then you get to 29 double, when Estupinan has a really nice double game week. But this is without check, I think he's Costa Rican. I think Costa Rica play Australia in Australia on like the 24th. And on the a few days later, he has his first game of that double game week. I think there's 3 days between the fixture in Australia and Brighton's game. Brighton's game is a really big one. It's an important one. I think it's Brentford at home. What do you reckon, Dean? Do we worry about players coming back from very long flights? We've seen it a lot in the past with South American players. They come back from Brazil or Argentina, and they're usually leggy, but if they're really important to their managers, they often just get thrown in and they play the game. Australia's a different beast altogether. Like, look, Argentina and Brazil are long flights, but Australia, that's a long journey. Does he get risked, or is he so important that they'll play him? Or do you think maybe he does miss one in the double game week?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He's playing Australia. It's Ecuador he actually represents.
Ecuador.
It's not Costa Rica, but he is playing against Australia, yeah. You're right. That is something to factor in. It's literally as far as he could possibly go in international week. And it's not an easy one to get your head around. There's definitely a chance, isn't there? I mean, you would imagine they do everything they can to play him, but there has to be doubt. I mean, it's just too much to reconsider. Yeah, I really hadn't factored that in, mate. You've kind of thrown me here.
Yeah, me too. Because when I wildcarded, I never thought of that.
No.
We knew that fixture was there. What I would say with De Zerbi is he's the type of manager that tells you what he's doing in a press conference. If someone's injured, he tells you. If someone's on the naughty step, he tells you. I'd like to think he'll tell us in his presser if a Estupiñán's going to start or not.
Yeah, I mean, for something like this, you usually do get decent direction from a manager because they can't really hide anything. Like the opposition knows that he's going to be in Australia, and that there's a chance he doesn't play as a result of that. So they'd already be aware that they could have an advantage. It'll just be gauging what the manager says in the actual build-up 2 days before that. You'll get a bit of stick for saying Costa Rica, mate. So
I've seen that. I think that was quite a good guess.
But yeah, we'll never forget this now that Estupiñán is Ecuadorian. And do you know what? The reason I knew this straight away as soon as you said it was because my little boy collects like those adrenaline match attacks cards, and he opened up a pack earlier, and Estupiñán was the first one out, and he didn't know what the flag was, and I had to tell him it was Ecuador. So I like it was right on my radar. This one today. It's quite funny.
I love that. So Moises Caicedo is also Ecuadorian, isn't he? So the two of them at Brighton together, pretty cool. No, is he Ecuadorian? Have I got that wrong as well? Caicedo.
You're panicking everywhere now. Right, we need to list out the nationalities.
Oh, he's going to be Costa Rican, isn't he?
No, he's Ecuadorian, mate. He's Ecuadorian. You're okay. But yeah, not ideal, is it, for Brighton to have two players in that boat? I mean, luckily none of us own Caicedo, and it's not a massive FPL asset anyway. But yeah, for Brighton, in that coming back from that, not ideal at all. This international break is obviously going to catch people out. And even, like you say, when we were making these wild cards, you knew what the break was coming, but it doesn't say that in the like game week chart that you're looking at. So you kind of forget that like all these players are playing all over the world during the week, and you don't know where they're coming back from.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. I personally think even if he misses that, he's still a good hold. It's worth noting Brighton players are owed like 2 or 3 double game weeks between now and the end of the season, together with what there's already planned in. So that owed fixtures and double in 29 is so good. So for me, I think I'm probably more likely to sell maybe a Brentford fullback, but we'll talk more when we show our teams later. We've got loads to get through tonight. Dean's got his notebook. We're going to be showing our teams. We're going to have a little look at some strategy with chips, with the Ben Crellin spreadsheet, and do some bonus beasts feature as well later. But first up, we have got my eye test report. Arsenal were good, weren't they, Dean?
Yeah, they were good.
So my first eye test report does come at Craven Cottage. Dean was there. Before I speak about the player that really caught my eye, and maybe this is going to be an obvious one, Dean, in terms of Arsenal, the slick passing, the movement, the interchanging positions up top, they were good at the weekend, right? You watched them live.
I was at the game for a bit. It's scary. It was really scary. Bear in mind too that Arsenal also had a disallowed goal for VAR, which was very tight. It's scary, mate. Like my vantage point at Craven Cottage is, so I'm behind the goal in the Hammersmith end, like quite high up, but it's a good view.
Was that where Arsenal were shooting first?
The way Arsenal were shooting. So anytime they attacked, like they were shooting into us. Their movements were frightening, and honestly, it gave me a perspective that I haven't had all season on gauging this Arsenal team and actually how good they are. The way they attack, when Zinchenko, like we're hearing of this all season about how Zinchenko comes inside, all this stuff, mate. In real life, in real time,
right?
It's unbelievable. The way Zinchenko comes in, Xhaka suddenly drops back to the left. Martinelli moves his run forward. They'll play this defence split and pass. You can't stop it. Arsenal must have done it 7-8 times, and we could not stop it. Kenny Tete at right back didn't have a good game. It's possibly the worst game I've seen him have this season for Fulham. But that might be because he hasn't come up against anything like this all season. It was absolutely ridiculous. Trossard was good. Like Tex says, he was electric, and he was. Like his little movements and link-up play was very difficult to get grips on, and the way that Arsenal do this like pullback thing from the touchline and try to score from close range, it's very difficult to manage. But mate, it was scary, and it was hard to watch from a Fulham point of view. So I'm interested to see the player you're going to pick out here, because there was about 5 or 6 good performances out there.
Yeah, there really was. I was most impressed with, and I have been for a couple of games now, which is why he was in my wildcard team, is Martinelli. Now, this is a player that many that own him benched, because we all have Saka, and then some of Odegaard, some of Martinelli. And whatever second Arsenal midfielder you had this game week, you probably benched them, because that's assuming you've got double Brighton and Rashford. So it was frustrating, but at the same time, you like seeing your players do well, even when they're on your bench, because you're thinking, next game week, he'll continue this. And Martinelli has been scoring goals for fun since Nketiah has been out of this team. The way Trossard and Martinelli link down that left, one's in a central position and one's slightly wider, but it's similar to how Jesus and Martinelli play. When Nketiah's in the team, it's very different. And Martinelli was hugging the touchline, having no joy. Arteta was therefore bringing him off fairly early in games, because he was playing pretty poor. And when I went and watched Arsenal against Man United at the Emirates about a month ago, I remember Martinelli, the home fans, giving him grief. And he was bad. He went for a bad spell. At the moment, in this team, with this 11, which I think will start again next game week, I don't think Jesus will come straight back in as the number 9. I think he'll be eased in, long injury. I think Martinelli is the hogger of the big chances. And therefore, I think he is a better option than Saka. Now, I think we're probably in a position where we're going to be playing both of them a lot. But I think I would be tempted to keep Martinelli over Saka if money was tight, for example. You save a couple of million. Now, sure, Saka has the penalty appeal. And over a long period, he's probably the better pick. But if you can catch Martinelli at the right times, I feel like he's going to be more explosive than Saka, because he's got a hat-trick in him, Martinelli. He's getting tons of big chances. And I like the fixtures coming up. Like, I think I could very easily captain Martinelli this game week. Loads will captain Saka. Arsenal arguably with the best fixture on paper. It's Crystal Palace at home. I'm going to go Martinelli over Saka for Crystal Palace at home if I do give the armband to an Arsenal player. And then it's Leeds at home. So, yeah, really caught my eye. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yeah, firstly, sorry, everyone. I've just noticed my microphone was unplugged for the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long we've been on here. So sorry if it sounded weird or echoey. If it hasn't, then that's a relief. But I was like, hang on, my mic's not plugged in. So hopefully it sounds better. Yeah, honestly, so the guy that I go to Fulham games with, he's really good at fantasy. He's he's in the top 200,000 at the moment, actually. And we got there and we were like talking about our teams, and we both had Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel, and we had both started Saka and had Gabriel and Martinelli on the bench.
Yeah.
So obviously, once both of those players had scored in this game, we were both pretty annoyed. And I was like, hang on, this isn't making any sense, because the reason I leave these players out when they play against Fulham is because I don't want to be happy that those players have scored. I was like, but hang on, right now, I'm even more annoyed, because Fulham have just conceded goals to these players. And I'm looking at my bench and they've got loads of points. So I'm even more annoyed. So actually, this is backwards of me. Why am I doing this week after week after week when teams play against Fulham? I should be putting these players actually into the team. So I think I've realised, guys, why I've been bad at this. My head versus heart argument has not had any sense to it. So yeah, Martinelli, mate, you're right. He was the danger man here. There's no doubt about it. All their big chances came down that side. Everything. I don't know if it's because they noticed that was a potential flaw in Fulham, that they'd get more joy by attacking Tete than they would Anthony Robinson. I don't know if that was the case, but that's what they went for time and time and time again. And Martinelli saw loads of good chances, loads of the ball in dangerous positions. And I was scared every time he got it. I was scared every time he got it.
1.15 was his XGI. 1.15. If you're ever hitting over 1 XGI in a game, you're causing real issues. Saka's XGI, again, against a very poor Fulham team. That's as bad as Fulham. They were made to play poorly, but the back line was all over the place. Yet Saka only had an XGI of 0.15. That's not even close. Like that, worlds apart. Now, it could be, as you say, a lot of the joy came down the left, but I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of joy down the left. So there we go. Martinelli won for me. I'm going to to stay with that left-hand side and look at Chelsea versus Leicester. And that is a player that many are looking at bringing in this week. Now, I don't know how I'm going to accommodate him because I don't want to sell a Stupinan. But I might have to because I really want Chilwell in my team. Maybe you sell a Brighton defender, or maybe, which sounds weird, you sell Zinchenko. But Ben Chilwell is flying at the moment. He scored against Leicester. The game before that, he got the assist versus Dortmund. And the game before that, he got the assist versus Leeds. Chelsea aren't scoring loads of goals, but when they do, feels like he's involved a lot. He is attacking down that left-hand side really high and really wide, more so than whoever's at right wing back. Reece James or Loftus-Cheek still very advanced, but Chilwell even more so. He's also, and you never know with Chelsea, they've got so many good potential set-piece takers. Depending on who's on the pitch, you don't know if it's going to be Mount or Gallagher or Reece James or Ziyech. So many players in that team can take set pieces. Chilwell, when he's on the pitch, always got a chance. And yeah, if you look at the weekend just gone, he was on 50% of the set pieces. So again, you have that threat. I mean, you've got players like Koulibaly, and even Fofana, he's not the biggest, wins a ton of headers for Fofana in the opposition box. They're dangerous and they're starting to keep clean sheets. This Chelsea team is made to play with wing backs and it's looking good. And the fixtures read 3 home games in the next 3 Premier League games. And they're one of the handful of teams that play in 28 and double in 29. Everton, Villa, Liverpool, the next 3 up at home. I think Chilwell's coming into my team for sure. If Reece James was fit week in, week out, you'd have a dilemma there. But knowing that James isn't going to be playing 2 games a week for long, like he'll always pick up knocks. And the Champions League, remember, Chelsea are still in. Chilwell feels a little bit more robust than that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Ali's just said in the chat that he thinks he'll be the most transferred in player this week. A no-brainer. Seems to make sense to me. Punter says he's bringing him in too. I think that you're right. He will be a player we seriously have to consider here. We probably all thought we were set for this game week, and it's already starting to go out the window, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And look, many planned, I'll just go into game week 28 with 9 players or with 10 players. And look, I can get to 10 with 1 free transfer, Haaland out, but I'm already going, I can get Chilwell in, get to 11. And we just don't like settling for 9 or 10. And we'll probably end up, many of us, pushing it to get to 11. So eye test reports so far, we've had Martinelli, we've had Chilwell, and we'll speak a little bit more about Chelsea later because Havertz is going to get a little bit of attention. But I also want to touch on a player that's in loads of our teams. But this isn't really to focus on Kane because I don't need to tell you all to buy Kane. I don't need to give you the heads up on Kane. It's the addition of Richarlison in that Spurs team. There's fire in Richarlison's belly off the back of the quotes saying how badly they've been playing. And then his manager saying, yeah, we have been playing badly, but he's been playing really badly. And that Spurs attack, I know Forest are really weak on the road. That Spurs attack is looking a little bit healthier at the moment with Richarlison and Kane in it. And Kane has Southampton up next. It's away from home, but the armband this week is going to be completely split. Loads will go to Saka, but loads will go to Harry Kane. I just wonder if Harry Kane versus Southampton, if that was at home for Kane, the majority would go there. But knowing it's on the road, maybe they won't. But don't forget, Southampton on the road, Southampton at home versus Leicester 2 weeks ago. They may have won the game, but Leicester were all over them. So it's going to be a really interesting split next week. But it was good to see Kane back in amongst the goals because many that wildcarded to bring someone like Kane in their team. He was one of the many reasons, myself included. So it was good to see some returns there finally.
Yeah, totally. Just hard to trust, aren't they? You just really don't know what you're getting from Tottenham week to week. And I think that's the problem we've all got with selecting players from them. I mean, Harry Kane is nailed on. You just stick with him, and like I am, and he'll deliver throughout the rest of the season. But the rest, like Son, played pretty well in this game, but Son's barely played well all season. Conte obviously loves Son and Kulu, even when they're out of form. I think he puts both of those players ahead of Richarlison. That's a worry too. There's clearly some conflict between them. Conte has got no reason to give him game time because he knows he's not going to be staying beyond this season, so he don't care. So I just find Southampton away a really difficult game to predict. And Southampton have still got a game before then as well. So let's see how they do in that one.
Yeah, and maybe that works to Spurs' advantage. Southampton aren't a team used to playing twice a week. Maybe they'll be a little bit leggy. I don't know. Trip to Old Trafford. Then they play Wednesday night and then again Saturday, Sunday. So
yeah.
Ali's looking at Kane, Saka, or Martinelli. Still unsure. Come on, Ali, you got to narrow it down to at least 2 of those 3. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard with that Wednesday. Tony could go score a hat-trick on Wednesday night, and then we probably go, Tony's playing Leicester. Momentum, given the armband. So the narrative will always change. Cool. So they were my 3 picks. Dean, let's come over to you for your notebook.
Yeah, okay, so just one more thing on the Fulham-Arsenal game. Mitrovic hasn't scored a goal for 2.5 months. January the 3rd against Leicester was the last time he scored. I know he's missed a few games through injury, but even now, he's just a yard off it. He's just not the same threat that he was. And if you still got him, I wouldn't bother. I'm not saying he won't score again this season or anything like that, but there's nothing there to suggest that he's going to help you, particularly in the upcoming weeks. If Fulham got a blank, maybe that'll be a good thing for him and he gets the rest. Maybe he needs that rest. Hopefully in the international break, he doesn't play. But just beware that Mitrovic has not scored a goal for a long time now. So keep an eye on that. Something I wanted to talk about, and somebody that literally none of us own, is at Southampton, and it's Carlos Alcaraz. He is selected by 0%, not 0.2, 0.3, 0.0% people have this guy.
And he's a starter, isn't he?
He's a starter. You wouldn't think you've got reason to pick him right now, but his last 2 home games have brought a 10-pointer and a 5-pointer. And today I was chatting to someone who watches a lot of Southampton. I was writing a piece for Give Me Sport. And I said, look, beyond James Ward-Prowse, who is there at Southampton? What's the threat?
Yeah.
And he is like, look, the only person who could say that's going to inspire this team is Alcaraz. He said he's got a knack for a goal that nobody else in this team has got. He said he makes really good attacking runs that nobody else in this team makes. And he makes sure he's getting into that box time and time and time again to try and get on the end of things, to make things happen, to cause some problems. Now, their next 2 matches at home, and we'll see, because we're already into this game week, so we can't jump on this one, but they've got a home match against Brentford this week coming up. And then they've got Tottenham at home. Then they've got 1 away match, and then they've got 2 more home matches back to back. Yes, one of them's Man City, but one of them's also Crystal Palace. It's just something to be aware of, I think. Somebody who's literally not owned in this game does actually seem to be coming into form at a time when there's a team that are absolutely desperate for results, and there's going to be fine margins that decide their games. And he might just end up being a little differential in that team. Obviously, it's still a gamble. I'm not suggesting we'll go there, but it's an interesting one. It's something to look out for.
We often don't look at the unfashionable clubs that are losing or that are at the bottom of the table. But you're right. Sometimes there is a gain there. I think the same with, yes, that Southampton team's one to keep an eye on. I'm with you there. And Alcaraz does look dangerous. But I think the same with Southampton, Bournemouth. I'm like, they've got an okay fixture in Aston Villa in 28. And then they have a double of 2 home games. And when you're at the bottom, these home games, as we've seen with Forest, it's where you're going to stay up, isn't it? It's where you're going to pick up the points. And Bournemouth have Fulham and Brighton at home in the double. I think Bournemouth could beat Fulham at home. I think they've got a chance. I'm like, who are the fantasy assets at Bournemouth? And at the moment, I don't know. I think Otara got the assist and looked useful. He's another one that's 0.0% owned, 5 million mid.
This is it, yeah. There's some gems out there in these last few weeks. We don't know exactly who's going to surface, but there are a few that are going to deliver some unexpected points. And talking of unexpected points, I just want to address Everton, really, because they are so difficult to read. I was making fun of them a few weeks ago when they played Arsenal, which is probably a bit harsh, to be fair, now that I've actually seen Arsenal with my own eyes. But one thing for sure is that Onana is the key to them staying up in that midfield. He is the inspiration, isn't he?
Chelsea were linked with him in January. We were linked with him. I was like, that's a move I love.
Yeah, look, if they go down, he's obviously going to move. And there's talk about it. A lot of teams looking at him. but I really feel like his form is going to dictate which way this season goes. They've got Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United, which is a really, really tough spell on paper. But do you know what? They will cause an upset among that. And Everton are just a team that you can't take your eyes off in this moment because they've never been relegated before. They've got everything on the line here. They got Sean Dyche trying to get a tune out of anyone he possibly can. Dwight McNeil's obviously becoming a really key player too in this team. Yeah. Tarkowski looks like somebody we might actually need to own as we get to this run in. But Onana, he's the inspiration, I feel like, in that Everton team. And I'm just really keeping an eye on how this pans out.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Fatal said exactly what I was thinking when Dean said Onana. What's my name?
It's so hard not to think that.
So hard not to think that. Yeah, no, useful. And again, it's like home form, isn't it? They beat Arsenal at home, and then they've just had a win again at the weekend at home. And those points at Goodison will be what keep them up.
Yep, absolutely. That's it, mate. That's all I got for this week.
Yeah, no, I like it. We've got loads to get through. So look, we want to show our teams, but we also want to have time tonight for some questions. I've seen already some good ones that, trust me, our producer's been parking to one side, ready to hit us with them. And of course, we want to go through some of our bonus fixtures, bonus beasts, we now call them as well. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I can see so many of our chasers are with us, as well as some new faces around here as well. So if you are new, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And obviously for anyone, you can hit the like button. But before we get into our teams, I want to bring up the fixtures, Dean, because, and I know this spreadsheet has been shown to death, but I feel like it needs a little revisit because we committed to a chip strategy, some of us, a couple of weeks back. We've been planning a bench boost 29. But I think the transfers we make, even this week in 28, we don't have to commit to a chip strategy about that free hit. But I think for those that are looking to free hit, and Dean, I know you've used yours, but your strategy is centered around your bench boost. But for me, I'm like, if I'm free hitting in 32, for example, that will affect some of my transfers even as way back as 28. So I think in 32, as we can see, Chelsea there, likely blank, right? Because Man United's participation in the FA Cup. So that Chelsea United fixture is unlikely to go ahead. So if, for example, this week I buy Havertz and Chilwell, am I committing myself to a free hit 32? Well, I probably am, because I'll have no Rashford, no Havertz, no Chilwell. I could own Shaw by then. And then when I look at some of the other players who are likely to miss out, I'm like, oh, okay, Brighton don't play and Man City don't play. So, or unlikely to play. I'll definitely have Haaland, and I'll probably might have 3 Brighton assets by then. Still then, I might have 2. But already I'm like, okay, that's 6 players already out my team. I would be free hitting in 32 if that's the case. Or if I don't go and buy Chelsea players this week and I go get Watkins and keep my Brentford and Brighton defender, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can navigate 32 without use of a free hit. But is 32 a good free hit week in isolation? Well, let's just have a look at some of the standout fixtures there. Arsenal have Southampton, but I'm probably already going to be heavily invested there. Some of the other key fixtures, I'm just looking through as we go. So, I don't know. Liverpool play Nottingham Forest at Anfield. That could be a really good one to go, I'm going to buy Salah, Darwin and Trent. Am I going to own Liverpool players for that fixture without a free hit in 32? Probably not. So that's quite nice. Spurs go to Newcastle, Kane only. So other than the Liverpool fixture and the Arsenal fixture, not a huge amount jumps out. But I still think it could be a good week to free hit if you want to go big on Chelsea or double on Chelsea in 28, for example, or even 29. What do you reckon, Dean?
Well, what I do say is that obviously Man United's FA Cup game is against Fulham, and the form that we're in, I wouldn't give us much chance of going to Old Trafford at the moment and causing a surprise. So unless Palhinha can totally change the shape and the belief of this team, then I do think that we are looking there at a blank. I mean, I was concerned as soon as the draw was made, but now after the last 2 Fulham games, I'm very, very concerned, even though Southampton have just gone to Old Trafford and got a 0-0. It's a fantastic chance to silverware for Ten Hag. I think he's going to take that very seriously. So motivated they'll be. So I think it will be blank. I think that's going to... that's really annoying. That's really annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have got a free hit, that does look like a week when you could really get an edge.
Yeah, I hope Fulham win because I always want the underdog to win. But also, if Man United didn't blank, then maybe there'd be enough to suggest, oh, okay, use your free hit in a 34 or 37 because there'll be bigger upside there potentially. Just looking at some fun picks that I could make in 32. And I don't know, Bournemouth, I mentioned them, like they have West Ham at home. If West Ham are really struggling and Bournemouth play well against Fulham and Brighton at home, maybe there's a punt there on a Bournemouth midfielder. And loads in the chat said Billing would be the Bournemouth player to go for. Yeah, and I'm fully aware of Billing's role in this team, and he is useful. And he was a DM, right? At Huddersfield, he was pretty much a DM. Well, at Bournemouth in the Championship last year, I think he got like 20 goals. Like he's kind of converted himself into a number 10, and he's definitely a goal threat. So thank you guys in the chat. Leicester have Wolves at home in 32. Am I going to be a Maddison owner? Probably not. I could go Maddison and Iheanacho, 32. I quite like that. I like that fixture. So yeah, there's definitely enough there for me to look at it. And I'm doing this in real time. I've not prepared this. I purposely didn't look at this sheet earlier. I was like, no, I'm going to do this live and talk through my thought process. And look, the teams that double in 34 and 37 are likely to be ones we're already heavily invested in. So Brighton will have Brighton players. We might have a couple of Chelsea by then. Man United, Man City will get a double. So again, like we'll know about these 34 and 37 doubles. We'll know about the likelihood of them way in advance. So we'll be able to plan those doubles. I don't think we'll necessarily need free hits for those weeks.
No, yeah. Ali wants some advice, mate. He said, is it worth keeping Trent or Salah?
Ali's got all his chips. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. For me, I'd be selling Liverpool assets unless, Ali, you're already committed to a chip in 28. If, for example, you said you were free hitting in 28, then you could keep them because they're going to a double in 29. It is the worst double possible for Liverpool in 29, though. Yeah. It's 2 away trips. One of them's Man City. And then the way Chelsea are playing at home at the moment, I think Chelsea are favourites for that. So I would be selling them, Ali, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you just don't know what you're getting from them either. Like, literally don't know what you're getting. And Salah's pen, like, it just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Head in hands moment, that wasn't it?
It felt like it was high and wide. Like it was just not Salah. 0-pointer. When does Salah get a 0-pointer after 90 minutes?
So weird.
There we go. Ali says the City game always screams goals. Possibly, although I think I'm right in saying it's the lunchtime kickoff. And I was speaking to FPL family Lee this morning on the FPL pod, and he's a Liverpool fan. And he was like, oh, mate, it's the 12:30 kickoff will be rubbish. He was like, I think we've had 4 or 5 early kickoffs on a Saturday, early kickoff this season. And he's like, we've pretty much lost everyone.
They haven't got up for them at all. It's true. They haven't got up for those games, literally. Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. Let's have a look at our teams in Pimp My Team.
Yeah, so here they are. Few left to play, obviously hoping for a big Brighton win against Crystal Palace and reasonably confident. Wasn't very happy about Raya conceding a goal in like 3 seconds or whatever it ended up being. Like, it was just way too early to like in my day to be seeing that he'd already conceded. So that was annoying. So yeah, Southampton away suddenly looks a bit of a trickier game than it did actually when I was bringing in these Brentford players. So don't know what I'm going to get from those. So I'm very much hoping that the Brighton lads could deliver, especially Matoma, obviously, because that's where I am. Probably getting rid of Haaland here, obviously. João Felix, unless he's injured, I'll stick with. Although this Mudryk return is a bit of a concern. Not sure what Sterling. I haven't checked on Sterling since the weekend, so I don't know what his outlook is, but that could change the way that this Chelsea team starts to rotate. So there's that to consider. But yeah, beyond that, and the fact that I made a massive mistake by leaving Martinelli and Gabriel on the bench, I won't be doing that again. I've learnt my lesson. I should be old enough to know better, but I wasn't. And they punished me twice. They punished me in real life and in this silly game.
27 on your bench. I think that's my quick maths. 27.
I mean, we did talk about a bench boost, didn't we? You told me to consider it. And I don't know that when I do play it in a couple of weeks' time, it's going to be any better than that, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. And we think 20 is always a good bench boost. So 27 is a bit gutting. We're both going to be going 29. And I like you, mate, at a good bench. Not quite so good because I had Zinchenko instead of Gabriel.
Right.
But João Felix, I think you're good. I think for me, it's Mudryk or Sterling. I think Sterling, Felix and Havertz is clear the front three. The way Felix and Havertz link, for me as a Chelsea fan, I've wanted Havertz to have this sort of strike partner for a long time, someone on his wavelength. And João Felix and Havertz, poetry in motion.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. Cool. Okay, let's have a quick look at my team. And you're on 51, Dean. You're beating me. Captain fail, 48. My big question this week is, Haaland goes to Havertz and I get 10 men. But do I want to get 11 men and sell Estupiñán or sell even... I could sell Henry because Henry's double isn't good. It's Brighton away and Man United away. And I've got Ray already. Do Brentford keep a clean sheet versus Brighton away and United away? I don't think they do. Maybe the defence impresses me against Southampton. And Henry was unlucky not to score. But yeah, I don't know. And then it's Leicester in 28. Again, it's at home and Brentford are good at home, but I could see Leicester scoring. So maybe I sell Chilwell there. I want Chilwell in. The beauty of selling Estupiñán is come game week 29, when Brighton have a good double, Brentford and Bournemouth, if I've sold Estupiñán, I could get to McAllister. I could go triple Brighton midfield. I could sell Saka, for example, who is a single game week. Yes, it's against Leeds. And I'm going to go all three Brighton mids. That's a differential in itself. I feel like I need some marginal gains. And I also am starting to feel like I need McAllister in my team. But again, a lot of that will come down to how McAllister plays midweek. And again, how Estupiñán looks midweek in that Brighton defence.
Yeah.
That's my rough plan.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. Unlucky, isn't it? I mean, it's one of these things. Someone did say to me, one of my mates, he said, mate, what have you done with your bench? Why have you got Martinelli against Fulham and Gabriel against Fulham on your bench? I was like, what's the double game weeks, mate? And he's quite a good player too. And he's like, it's a trap. Don't fall into that trap that just because they're playing twice, it means that they're going to outscore players that are top of the league against a team that are out of form. And he hadn't done it. Like, he stuck to, he always has this belief and he does stick to it. And he, as I say, he scored quite well this week. And I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's very hard to overlook a double game week, though. Like, especially teams like Brighton who are actually in form, You
get two bites at the cherry, mate. Like, I think I'm still at, like, we can call them mistakes, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. And those Brighton fixtures were there for points. And look, in attack, we kind of got them. McAllister and Matoma return, right? For many that had them. And there's still another fixture here. You get 180 minutes. Maybe Brentford, we went a little bit too big on. Maybe, many of us have got double Brentford defence if you include Raya. Yeah. Maybe that's a little bit too heavy. But Brighton are a very good team. So I think we did all right there.
Yeah, that next fixture still looks good. Like, that next fixture still looks good right now. I'm still confident that Palace are an absolute free-fall.
Yeah, exactly that. Okay, well, let's check out our bonus beast feature in Tips and Chips. I rarely get that in the right order, Tips and Chips, but today
you've done well, mate. You could easily trip over those words.
Yeah, very easily. So Kai Havertz. He's going to be my transfer in this week, I think. Many will go Ollie Watkins. Some will go João Felix. If you own Watkins or Felix, you're happy. You stick with them. But if you're shopping for a forward and you're selling Haaland, and you're looking for someone that plays 3 times in the next 2 game weeks, look at this. So the average position map is where we see the numbers. And then obviously the glow is the heat map. The average position map, and by the way, I mentioned Chilwell earlier, 21 on the halfway line. Same as number 11 there. I think that was that João Felix, pretty much next to each other, which is interesting. Number 29, the closest to the goal, Havertz, we know that. But let's look at some of those numbers. 0.83 XG, very, very good. He had 4 shots, 2 of them on target. Again, excellent. He created a big chance. He got the assist of the assist for the Kovacic goal. He also heavily involved in the play. When you build 30 passes, it helps you a lot in the BPS, especially if the success rate is at 80% plus. So he's ticking all the boxes. He scored the winner against Dortmund. We know he's on penalties. Reece James might take some, but I think they're Kai's to lose. Just looks really useful. The goal, Dean. The goal. He scored a year ago today. I tweeted it this morning. He scored one of my favourite goals in FPL of all time because I captained him against Newcastle a year to the day. And Jorginho, my favourite player, put in the worldy 40-yard ball over the top. And Kai Havertz over Dan Burn's shoulder. Dan Burn, who he elbowed and should have been red carded for 10 minutes before. One touch on his left foot, ball still in the air, pokes it home on the same left foot. Poetry in motion. Havertz has that in his locker. And the goal again at the weekend was similar. It was the Enzo little lobbed ball through that Havertz, just without even looking, knew where the keeper was, knew the sort of projection he'd need to get on the ball to lob the keeper, all off one touch. This guy has got magic in his feet. I'm sure of it. I love him so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be worried if I was you because I don't know what they do with him going forward. I don't know if they know how to use him. He doesn't really still fit into this Chelsea team is the problem. Yeah. Like it's like he needs to be playing just off of someone or like have a free role or be able to glide into those positions from, just like a floating 10. Like rather, if you think like Bayern Munich are quite interested in Havertz, they're not looking for Havertz to be Lewandowski. They're looking for him to be Thomas Muller. They're looking for him to glide around the pitch and find those little gaps. And Chelsea don't play with someone that is allowed to do that. But you can't let him leave because he's a magician. Like he is technically one of the best players in this league. And not many players can score goals like that. And it wasn't a fluke. He does it every single day in training, I'm sure, because he's ridiculous. Everybody there that I speak to loves him, say he's pretty much one of the best players they've ever seen. Yeah. When he was signed by Chelsea, tipped to be a future Ballon d'Or winner. It's taken a while for some people to recognise it, but I've recognised it for a long time. I think one of the reasons he perhaps didn't celebrate as much is he probably thought as a chance he might be offside or that
I thought that.
Ruin it. Do you think that? Yeah, like that. It's really annoying in a way that moments like that get spoiled by the chance of a VAR call. You don't want to look silly because I'm sure that wasn't just like, oh yeah, I do this all the time, even though he probably does. I think there was part of him that just thought he was going to be VAR checked and wasn't entirely sure. But yeah, mate, he's absolutely different class.
Tech XEO has made a point in the chat that a few made on Twitter this morning, and I don't know why. I think we are under this illusion that Havertz is a Havertz of old under a different manager and perhaps in a different system. Havertz in the last couple of months since the World Cup, I think he's pretty much started every game. This guy is not a minutes threat. And actually, Chelsea fixtures, well, they're not in the FA Cup, they are in the Champions League, but there's a good chance they don't progress into the semis of that competition. They're not owed loads of games. So Tech XEO, it's a fair question. I completely get it. But remove yourself from a Havertz of old that was in and out of a team under a different manager or under Potter early on and look at the last few games or even since the World Cup. Havertz hasn't really missed and he's been a 90-minute man. Against Dortmund, I think in both legs, but definitely in the second, we see Potter making 4 or 5 changes. The attacking mids always come off. The wide forwards always come off. It's like, Kai gets 90. Again at the weekend, João Felix comes off at half-time. Kai gets 90. So many attackers come off. Like the defenders, Potter uses his 5 subs. And if we look at the Premier League minutes in the last 5, 90, 90, 90, 26, 90, 90. He's pretty much, so the last 6 games, he's played 90 in 5 of them, plus the Dortmund games, where he's also played 90. This guy's not a minutes. Like, you may as well say Ollie Watkins is a minutes risk. You're safe, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's not really anyone else that can like play 9. I mean, Aubameyang's barely getting a look in, so you haven't got that threat. Obviously, if Brozier was still fit, you might have some danger of his place, being under threat by giving someone else a chance in that position. Yeah. But I don't think João Felix is is good there. I think it'd be wasted there. Sterling has obviously played there before, but again, I think wasted there. Havertz does seem to be the most obvious chance. Everyone's saying you're on a bit of a Chelsea loving tonight. I know it was in the chat. People are like,
I'm
guys,
due,
really
mate. I'm so due. I've had months of rubbish Chelsea. Let me feel this. We've beaten Dortmund. Yeah, it was Leeds and Leicester, but back-to-back Premier League wins for Chelsea this season. It's a special feeling.
Yeah, it's very rare, isn't it? I mean, this was always going to happen. I mean, there was no way that they could continue with the squad that they've got to be as bad as they were. I mean, things had to turn. Just be interested now if they can actually continue it. They should, but the problem that Potter's got is like the more players that become fit and available, the more headaches he's got in terms of nailing his starting 11 and getting the subs right and keeping everyone happy. So it's the new test for him, really.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few in the chat asking me if I'm going to buy Havertz. Guys, there's never been a more nailed-on transfer. I'm not really a Watkins kind of guy, despite 6 and 7. I don't pick players because they've just got points. I pick players because I hope they're going to get points. And look, I can only hope Watkins' goals run out. Look, maybe they continue. He's been doing really well. But Havertz, I like to be invested in my team when they're playing well. And I think they're starting to play well. So I'm going for it. Going for it.
Nice.
Let's move on. The Havertz loving has to come to an end at some point.
Shame.
This is a guy that got 3 bonus points, and I think he only got 65 minutes. I don't know if he went off because it was tactical or an injury. I need to check that. He's not flagged, so I assume tactical, but he had a very good game. I don't know if you saw the Watkins header, Dean, but the ball from Moreno was put on a plate. What a wand of a left foot he's got.
Good goal, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I mean, look, I was asked last week on another show, like, if I thought Moreno was working out as things had expected after signing him, and Emery was seen to be shouting at him quite a bit. I can't remember which game it was last week or the week before. And I was like, look, they've got massive, massive hopes for him, and he fits perfectly in the way that this team is going to be built. And if Emery's shouting at him, it's because he knows he can get more out of him. Like, this is what he expects from him, this kind of input. I don't know either way he was taken off. I didn't see the game closely enough. But, oh, hang on. Matt says he's a Villa fan. This will always happen. Share a lot of minutes with Luca Dean. If you're happy with that, then he's great. And I don't think that can be the case going forward, though. I don't believe that Luca Dean or Alex Moreno are going to be happy with sharing minutes in that position. I think both of them will want to play every week and not be subbed after an hour. Like, there's nobody that plays in the Premier League who's at this level whose ego doesn't get in the way of that. So I believe that they'll have a decision to make. And I think that Moreno will win it because he's Emery's man. And as you
don't go and buy him otherwise, do you? You go, I'll play... Matt Target can come back hot off loan and we'll keep him as a backup.
Like, you can figure it out. You don't need 2 players of that standard in the same position.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think long term it will be Moreno. Certainly next season. You're right, though. This season might see some shared minutes. It already has done. I'm fully aware that Dean and Moreno, it's been really hard to predict. But off the back of the performance at the weekend, I thought he played really well, and I don't know why he came off early. But maybe he's not fully fit. Maybe he's been eased in
tactical. Haley says tactical, but I haven't seen the game close enough to know that.
Yeah, and I tell you what. So look at this map. How often do you see a player on the touchline? Like, we've just looked at Chelsea's map. You don't see that. Matt Cash, number 31, or is Matt Cash number 2? No, Matt Cash is 2, isn't he? Bailey's 31, I think.
Yeah.
So he's more advanced than Leon Bailey. But look how wide he is. Like, you don't expect the right wing or the right back on the touchline. But the left winger and left back, because he's playing 2 roles here, is so wide, which gives him great assist threat for those balls, especially when you've got someone like Ollie Watkins who loves that run in behind. Because if you're playing against a defence with a high line, which West Ham don't usually do, but maybe there'll be some opponents coming up that do, there's plenty of space between goalkeeper and last defender that Moreno will find those passes, find those assists. And 3 key passes at the weekend in 64 minutes is good. He won half his ground duels, but was up against a lot of ground duels. And not surprised to see him get all 3 bonus. So one to monitor, not someone I'll be buying straight away. As Ali says in the chat, someone like Mings is safer. I'm interested to know from the Villa fans in the chat, how does your Brazilian centre-back coming back in affect things? Is it Costa? No, Diego Carlos.
Diego Carlos.
Like he's fit now, isn't he? So is
he's
him
back
and
involved?
Mings the first choice, or does Konza keep a spot? I don't know. Because again,
I find it
Diego
hard to
Carlos
believe
is going to be a starter, isn't he?
I mean, I find it hard to believe that he won't be. I mean, he was a high-profile signing who had a lot of bad luck. Obviously, gets injured second game in or whatever it was. A bad injury too. I mean, look, it was such a serious injury. I don't know how long he needs to get fit to play a full game. So I don't know like what his rehab is going to be here in terms of first team football. But there's no doubt this guy was signed with great purpose. And as I said earlier on in the show, like this is a Villa team that have aspirations to next season be qualifying for European football. So this is all kind of preparation for what's to come next year. And there's Emery's definitely going to want to look at him in that back line and see how it shapes up, especially getting Moreno in. The thing to consider with Moreno too is remember when Emery first joined, we're told, the one thing he really wants to do is he wants somebody who's a different kind of attacker, different kind of winger to anything Villa have got right now. So everyone started looking into Danjuma and all this. I think he just wanted him. I think it's Moreno that's actually delivering that.
Yeah. I think this Villa team is going to be awesome next year. And yeah, interesting. The chat split. Loads say it'll be Mings and Carlos, but I'm pretty sure Carlos is left centre back, and Mings can only play left centre back. So personally, I've always preferred Konza to Mings. I do wonder if it will be, time will tell. I don't want to speculate, but many think it'll be Mings and Carlos, two left-sided players.
Interesting.
Guys, we've got a couple of minutes for questions. We've answered loads as we've gone, though. We haven't been ignoring you. So apologies, we haven't got a dedicated 10 minutes, but it's been too much to squeeze in. We'll have a deadline stream on either Thursday or Friday this week as well. So time for a couple of questions in the chat. We'll go real quick fire. I'll go, then Dean will go. Do I think Pope should have been sent off? Yeah, I do. I think that was a shocking decision.
Yeah, very, very lucky. In for Andreas. I mean, Andreas can go, to be honest, at this point. He's had two sloppy games, really, by his standards. Not being able to press as intensely as he was either. So, yeah, probably drop him for now.
Yep. Laurie, just a wild thought, but what do we think of moving Rashford out? That isn't one I've looked at. No. He could have easily won a penalty yesterday. Double game week on the horizon.
It's
arguably still top three most informed players in the league, right?
Yeah, I think that's a massive gamble. I mean, he's not been enough of a drop-off to suggest that would be worthwhile at the moment. And you've got to consider United have got games coming up against Brentford, Everton, Nottingham Forest. Like, you want him for those games just in case. Thoughts on Maddison? We said before, like, Maddison is the player in that Leicester team that is kind of like fireproof. Like, even when they're going through bad spells, you can rely on him to produce good performances. Look, on another day, Leicester could have got something out of that Chelsea game. They wasted at least two massive opportunities to score. Like, Harvey Barnes missed one. I can't remember who missed the other one. I think it was a header. Anyway, I think that Maddison is the only Leicester player I would actually trust to continue. It's probably his farewell tour now, the last 12 games, whatever he's got left. He'll want to go out with a bang. Go for it.
Yeah. 9 players at risk. I'd get to 10 if you can. I think selling Haaland and bringing him back is fine. If you're short on transfers, though, 9's all right.
I think a lot will have 9. I think a lot will. I was looking through mini leagues and stuff and trying to gauge it earlier, and I think a lot will have 9, unless they take point hits.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you could hit the like button, I'd love to get to 100 by the end of the show. It was Dewsbury Hall. Good one, Mark, that missed a big chance.
Oh, Dewsbury Hall.
Our chat is so knowledgeable, mate. Like, as soon as I got a country wrong for Stupinan, or I mentioned...
Dewsbury Halls was it was Dewsbury Halls that I was thinking of. Yeah, that's right.
I got Carlos's name wrong straight away. I mentioned that he's left-footed, he's right-footed, but plays...
Oh, we've got to be on our toes, mate. We've slipped up a few times there.
Honestly.
A few times.
Sorry, start calling us casuals.
Sorry, Chasers. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you could subscribe as well if you're new around here, hopefully you want to do that, because we do these streams every Monday and pretty much every Friday, always twice a week. We'll be back later this week. Hit that alarm bell when you subscribe for a notification when we go live. Follow Chasing Green Arrows on social media. We always put on our Instagram and our Twitter when we're going live. It's likely to be around the deadline, potentially Thursday, likely Friday. We will see you later this week. Go well. Good luck for those that are hoping for Matoma or Tony or March captaincies. For those that are hoping for McAllister captaincies, please please don't score more goals. But for now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows.